traveling with the team to Memphis for the Nets game against the Grizzlies tonight. Karis LeVert said after that game, Irving is dealing with a personal issue. He actually texted his teammates before the game. Robert, what is your reaction to this? As of last night, Steve Nash said he didn't have the information about what it was.
See, for me, you have a responsibility to your teammates, to your coaches, and to the staff to let them know what's going on. I know a lot of stuff happened in the past couple of days that's led to a lot of unrest. We know how socially active Kyrie is, so I don't want to speculate to what it is, but I still think it's not about just texting your teammates. It's got to text everybody in that front office to let them know, because I look at it like this. What if I decide to not, you know what, I don't want to send you a paycheck this week. I'll let you know what's going to happen with that, And so he has a responsibility. If I'm his teammate right now, I'm like, dude, you need to call me. Don't text me. I want to hear it out your mouth why you're not showing up, because we depend on you, and you're one of the leaders of our team. If you're going to sit out, we need to know why.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's different, though. You know that, Rachel. I mean, some people open up to some people and some people don't. Sometimes I go through things and I don't tell people. But, I'm like, look, not right now. It's personal. And, maybe when it's all said and done, we can come back to that. But everybody is different. Kyrie is a different type of individual, just like me, you and Robert are. And so, but like he said, it is the communication. He communicated with his teammates. It'd be nice to communicate at least with your head coach. Let him know, I won't be here for personal reasons. And I don't have to explain that reason because maybe it's something that's touching that I don't feel like opening up to somebody about. Right. And so, but it is his responsibility to let the organization know.
Well, as Robert says, it's the team that has to be right by it, right? So, correct. Zach, I guess that's my question to you is, how do the Nets feel? Do the Nets brass feel with your communications with the team that they feel good by this? Because if they do, then I do.
Yeah, I would defer to the Nets. And look, just one thing you're already hearing from players, coaches, people on the traveling parties is, just like the bubble created a certain mental strain and anxiety for players and everybody there, this season will too. It's just different. I mean, the Spurs were just in their hotel rooms in Los Angeles for 4 days. Yeah, they're nice hotel rooms, 5-star hotels, all that. You're still stuck there for 4 days. People are scared. People are scared when they hear about positive tests. I don't know what it is. I don't know why Kyrie is not with the team. I don't think the Nets higher-ups know yet. And I think, you know what? So far, what I've heard is they're deferring to Kyrie, give him his space. When you say personal reasons, I think some people, just like Paul said, some people aren't comfortable revealing what those personal reasons are. Some people aren't comfortable kind of prying and saying, hey, what are your personal reasons? We need to know. People are pretty respectful of people's space and whatever space they need. And I think that's the tack that the Nets are taking now. Now, if this goes on for weeks and days or whatever, and they don't have an explanation, maybe things have to change. But right now, everyone's just sort of, let's just let it go and let him do what he needs to do. And it's going to be a long, tough season for everybody.
All right, Zach. Well, you will be back later in the show, so thank you and sit tight. Before the break, I do want to talk about his opening tip. Damian Lillard dropping what Kendrick Perkins calls a quiet 39-7-7 last night in a win over the Wolves. Paul, this has got to be the version of Dame you expected, right? After they lost back-to-back games coming in.
You expect this from Damian Lillard when you constantly see him shoot from half court, getting buckets. This is who Dame is right here.
Woo. And,
but you know what? I never get bored watching it.
No, that is true. And I was going to just say the Timberwolves, they're in a state right now with Karl Anthony Towns out. Robert, you know those games. Those are get-right games, right, when you play a team like that?
Oh, yeah. You go out, you try to get your numbers. You try to get back that rhythm.
All day long.
Right? You know those games. Y'all know those games.
You get that rhythm.
Not only against the contenders, you feast on these weak teams.
Right? Team that doesn't have its star right now. Just saying. Welcome to The Jump. I'm Rachel Nichols. I am alongside, indeed, at the other end of the desk. I can almost see him from here. 7-time champion.
7 times.
Robert Horry. Boom. Boom. And one-time champion.
One time.
But finals MVP. And he only has one ring, but he does have 2 phones. So it's important to remember that is always, right? He's got the both. Yep, you know.
I'll stay ready. I'll stay ready.
Boom. Yeah. Coming up on this show, Luka Doncic put up 38, 13, and 9 last night in a win over the Nuggets.
Okay.
What's changed for him after a slow start? We'll discuss that and our expectations for Lonzo and LaMelo Ball's first head-to-head matchup in the league right here on ESPN, 7 o'clock Eastern, so stick around for that too. First, though, it was dramatic. I will give you that. 1 minute, Sixers guard Seth Curry was on the bench for Philadelphia's game against Brooklyn last night. The next, he wasn't. Rumors began flying, and by postgame, they were confirmed. Curry had been removed because a positive COVID test had come back mid-game. So yeah, dramatic. And because it played out in front of the cameras, it spawned an avalanche of questions. Should all the Sixers quarantine now? Should the Nets game against Memphis tonight be canceled? Are we wiping the next 2 weeks of Philadelphia's schedule off the board? Well, here are your answers. No, no, and also no. The league is not shutting down for Curry's positive tests, much like the league did not shut down for the 4 other positive tests it announced just a few hours earlier in the day as part of the league's routine weekly update. As Adam Silver has said multiple times before the season started, positive tests are expected outside a bubble. So with Curry, just like the others across the league who've tested positive in the past month, now is when the protocols kick in. As we speak, the NBA's team of scientists is holding contact tracing interviews with the Sixers. And here's what they're looking for. Was anyone else on the team in a small indoor space with Curry for more than 15 minutes without a mask? So if Curry played video games with someone in a hotel room without a mask on, that would count as a close contact. And that person would have to self-isolate for up to 7 days, depending on the level of contact and the sick person's viral load at the time. For example, when several Rockets players got haircuts in a player's apartment, and shortly afterward, Kenyon Martin Jr. tested positive, the other players, including John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins, had to isolate and miss games, even though they never ended up testing positive themselves. And here's another example. Just today, the Celtics announced 3 of their players are going to have to sit the next few games due to contact tracing. Or this one, last night. Alex Caruso returned to the Lakers lineup after missing 5 games due to contact tracing. Alex said the protocol had kicked in because a friend who had stopped by his house after Christmas had ended up testing positive. So he had to sit, even though he never ended up testing positive himself. So let's get back to Seth Curry. How much is contact tracing going to affect the rest of the Sixers? The answer is probably some, but not the whole team. For example, the NBA's health experts say that sitting in a team meeting with masks and distancing, not a close contact. And here's the key one. Playing in an NBA game with or against someone who ends up being positive is usually not considered a close contact either. How? Well, league doctors look at the same second spectrum on-court tracking that scouts use. And so far, they've found it's extremely rare for any one player to be in close proximity to another player for a full 15 minutes, even just cumulatively over the course of a game. There are exceptions to that, of course, which is why they double-check that data, as well as practice facility security cameras and the new tracking devices that players will be required to wear for team activities starting tomorrow. And they also, of course, check test results. Every NBA player and every staff member around them regularly gets daily testing, which means Seth Curry must have tested negative the day before yesterday. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been on the bench last night. And on game days, players get double tested. The first is a rapid test, which Curry presumably also passed yesterday morning. The second is another PCR test, which usually takes around 8 to 10 hours to come back. Clearly, that's the one that came back positive, which led to, that mid-game removal last night. It was certainly jolting to see, but it's not something that's going to shut down the league. Not in this very strange season, where the drama is not only confined to the court. And I do want to now welcome in ESPN senior writer Zach Lowe. Zach, now that we're faced with the realities of playing professional basketball during a pandemic, do you think the league is going to be able to manage these types of situations without a huge impact on the schedule?
This is what everybody signed up for when we left the bubble. I mean, think about this. 6 months ago or whatever, the league was trying with the medical review board to basically unilaterally bar higher risk people from even going to the bubble, including older coaches. And now we've all decided, we're all going to get on planes and stay in hotels and play basketball. This is life. This is going to continue to happen, especially after the holidays. And Rachel, you mentioned this. The team that people haven't been talking about, we're talking about the Sixers and the Nets and future games being postponed. I do think things like that are going to happen throughout the season. I haven't heard a lot of talk about the Wizards, who played against Seth Curry. And you mentioned the stuff about how a game is not necessarily considered close proximity. I mean, I guess I still feel like what we know about this virus is outweighed by what we don't know. So I believe that? I'm not sure. But the Wizards played Seth Curry the night before. As you said, presumably he passed. He was negative at a point of contact rapid test before that game. If I were a member of the Washington Wizards, knowing what I do about incubation periods and all this, I would still be a little nervous today, man. I don't know that we can just sort of leave that game behind and pretend we're just moving forward from it. So this is all scary stuff, and all you can do is hope that everyone follows the rules as best as possible. But I don't think this kind of stuff is going to stop, and they built a break into the schedule for makeup games and all that. They're going to keep trying to soldier through.
All right, well, I want to bring Paul and Robert back into this conversation. Paul, how difficult do you think it's going to be for teams to put out a competitive product night in and night out when these protocols are happening, especially the contact tracing ones?
Well, we're seeing it right now when you see key players to each team have to sit out because of protocol. I mean, we saw an example of this because of the NFL. You know, they started before us. We had a bubble initially. Now we're out the bubble, so now you have travel, hotel, you know, you're interacting with different people. And so this is going to continue throughout the season. What I do suggest, though, and I've been thinking about this because you don't want to lose your best product. I think when the playoffs start, we go back to the bubble. I really do, because you don't want to lose a game because LeBron is in protocol
right
or
now.
Joel Embiid. You know what I'm saying? So we got to get through the season. We know it's going to be difficult, but I suggest going back to the bubble for playoffs.
I totally agree. I was thinking the same thing, because if you look at what happened in the bubble, it was clear. Nobody got COVID. Everybody was in a bubble. Everybody was doing what they were supposed to do. Because think about it. This AC Fresh, a friend just came by to just say hi.
Yeah.
Even though he didn't have COVID, he had to miss a couple of games. You know, AC Fresh is not the top 8 guys on that team, but he's a significant player. And you can't have your main guys, who we pay top dollar to see, missing the game because he came in contact with somebody. It would mess up the game. So I know the guys don't want to hear that, and they don't want to go to the bubble. But for the safety of the guys in the game, they should do it.
Well, I know the hope in the league is that by the time we get there, by the time we get to the playoffs, and remember, they're going to be later this year because we started later, that enough of the country will have gotten vaccinated and that enough players will have gotten vaccinated that this will be less of a problem and you will need less of a bubble. But the vaccine, as we've already seen, is rolling out more slowly than
how do we know how the
hoped.
effects of the vaccine is going to work? You know, I mean, that's the question marks that I have, and I'm not even in sports anymore.
Right.
And so, you know, how does it affect the old people around you? How does it affect pregnant people, like the people who we're around our daily lives? And so I'm just not so sure that is the 100% answer.
For me, you know, we always talk about, you go to college sports right now, the protocol is they kept Trevor Lawrence out because they thinking COVID would attack the heart. You know, these guys are running up and down the court and doing exerting a lot of energy. How will that vaccine affect an active person? We don't know yet, because we still in the prelims of this vaccine. So it's hard to say that. You know, I would be scared to take the vaccine personally because, you know, I have heart issues and I don't know what it'll do to me.
Yeah, no, it's complicated. There's a lot of scientists doing a lot of work on this, and I think the NBA is going to continue to trust in them. But it is complex, and we will see how it affects the Sixers and their opponents, as Zach points out, both past and